Hello, crafty friends. Yana Smakula here, and in this video, I'm sharing a look at my favorite June club kits from Spellbinders. I was so inspired, I made 14 different cards featuring these club kits, and I can't wait to share them with you. I'm going to start in the chronological kit order, so we'll start with the small die of the month. Let me set the other cards aside just so they're not in the way. And we're going to look at like I said, the small die of the month first. This is probably one of my favorite cards from this bunch of cards that I made. And this is featuring the small die, but only one of the pieces, one of the die sets from this die set features the seagull. So we have a cute little seagull. I put this one on a yellow card base and a yellow card front. So this is a super, super simple, but a very impactful card. I have my seagull wearing a little scarf cut from patterned paper. This patterned paper, it's the blue, not the blue, it's the green and white patterned paper. It comes from the Hello, It's Me paper pad from Rosie's Studio. And you'll see me using this paper pad quite a bit on other characters that I will show you today. This card also features a sentiment from the stamp of the month, and it just says, "Ahoy, just sending hello." Here's a look at the stamp of the month. You can see that I've inked up and stamped pretty much every single image from this set. The stamp set comes with a coordinating die, and I do have some of the sentiments cut out on some of the other cards, so you'll see that in just a bit. So that's the seagull featuring the small die of the month. Next, we have another character in this die set, and it is this salty sailor, as I call him, or a walrus. This is a brilliant die, and I love the way Josie designed this one because it gives the character a lot of, I don't know, a lot of character, I guess. So he is very, very handsome. I really like this particular part of this die set that creates a lot of detail, adds a lot of detail to his face. So you have little lines in here. Hopefully you can see that. And these lines tell you where the little whiskers need to go. So that makes it very easy to assemble everything and glue the pieces together. I used foam adhesive square and glue to assemble my sailor, and I used gray, shades of gray, and then I used shades of brown on another card. I'll show you that in just a second. My sailor is wearing a t-shirt. You have a die to cut that t-shirt, and you can cut that from colored cardstock or patterned paper. So this is the same patterned paper as I used on this seagull from the Hello, It's Me paper pad from Rosie's Studio. I actually wanted him to have a blue and white striped t-shirt, but I don't have patterned paper like that. So I used what I had. I used green, and the green actually works really well with the yellow and the blue. Speaking of the yellow and the blue, he is wearing a cool yellow rain jacket and a blue hat. And the best part of this die set, he is smoking a pipe. That pipe is just brilliant. And you can use this pipe not just with the walrus, but you can also add it to some other characters that you might already have in your stash. And I will show you another use of this pipe on another card in this video. To create a background here, I used an embossing folder. So this is the 3D embossing folder. Here's a look at this folder for this month. Again, as always, this is a large size folder. So this is 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So you can use it on A2, 5 by 7, or whatever card size you make. This is the background that it embosses. And this is using the Spellbinders Fawn cardstock. This is using the Nina Solar White Desert Storm cardstock. And this is using the Spellbinders Windy cardstock. So you can have a little fun with this embossing folder. For the sentiment here, I did Ahoy Matey, and this one is done using the clear stamp of the month, and it's cut out using the coordinating die. So that's a look at this card. Here's another card. It's very similar to the one that I just showed you, but it features a slightly different color combination. The jacket is blue, and then the hat is green here. And again, he has that same green and white t-shirt. The sentiment here reads, "Ahoy, party like a sea captain, happy birthday." By the way, the sentiments in the stamp of the month for June are really clever, and I really, really like them. I used mostly stamped sentiments for my cards today, so let me quickly go through some of the sentiments. I have some that I've stamped it cut out but haven't used. So we have Thanks for Lighting the Way. This one works really well with the lighthouse from the large die. I'll show you that in a second. Ahoy, you see that here and here. Many things from this Salty Sailor. This one's actually super good to use with the walrus. Anchors Away to an Amazing Birthday. There is an anchor die in one of the clubs. Ahoy, matey. I used it here. Seize the Day and Make It Amazing. I think I used it on one of the cards. Thinking of You from the Edge of the World. This one works really well with a large die. Party Like a Sea Captain, Happy Birthday. That's the one I used here. You are the captain of your own destiny. It's a really thoughtful message. I did not get to use that one, but I do have a card idea for this sentiment, so I want to use it soon. Just Saying Hello. It's a universal sentiment. I used it here with the seagull. From the Crew, so you can add this to many other sentiments in this set. From the High Seas, You Are the Calm in My Stormy Seas. And then this one, From Where the Cliffs Meet the Sea. So you have a nice selection of sea-themed sentiments. A really cool stamp set, and there are coordinating dies to cut this one out. Okay, let me set this one aside. And we can keep looking at the other dies or the other cards made using the small die of the month. So here I have yet another walrus. He is now wearing a slightly different t-shirt. This one, once again, is made using pattern paper. This pattern paper comes from another pattern paper pad. This is the Golden Afternoon by Rosie's Studio. I think this is still available on the Spellbinders website. I have it linked, or I will have it linked in the video description below, so you can check that out. For this card, I paired my walrus with a steering wheel, and this is part of the stitching die of the month. This is what that die set looks like, and you can make that steering wheel into one that can be stitched, or you can skip the stitching detail and have it be without any stitching detail. I'll show you that on another card in just a sec. So here we have a red jacket, a red hat, once again that pipe. For this card, I went with a black pipe. Here I used brown. And then for the sentiment, I used one that says, Sending a Net Full of Thanks. And this sentiment comes from the Better Press of the month for June. Here's a look at the Better Press. So we have the Better Press of the month also creates this beautiful background. And we have two sentiments. So one is Sending a Net Full of Things, and another one is Casting a Warm Hello Your Way. And then there's a little die to cut these sentiments out. Here I foiled the net in gold foil on the Windy cardstock. I always love the look of gold and light blue. And then I use the opaque white foil for the sentiment here at the bottom. All the things are popped up. There's quite a bit of dimension here, and it's a nice sea-themed card. So again, this is using the small die, the stitching die, and the Better Press. My next card features, again, the seagull from the small die, and then we have the steering wheel from the stitching die of the month. But here, I cut the steering wheel twice, and I pieced it together to create one solid steering wheel. There is a seam right down the center, but I added a sentiment across it, so that kind of hides it. And that's that other sentiment from the Better Press set. Love that. Now for the background here, you can see there's like a little bit of a net in the background. It's a different type of net. So for that, I used the Glimmer kit of the month. So here's a look at the Glimmer background. So we have the background in that kit and also several sentiments. I foiled the sentiments, but I don't think I used them on any of the cards that I have today. So the sentiments read, Happy Birthday, Cast a Net Full of Wishes. So I could have easily used this sentiment, but it just didn't work the color didn't work for this card. And then I have Throw Your Net Wide this Year. This is also a really cool sentiment. And again, this one could have worked easily on this card, but it's not the right color. Actually, if I added on here like this, that also looks really cool. What do you guys think? Huh? Yeah, I like it. Maybe I will do that. I don't know. Well, let's set this card aside so that I don't remember to do this after the video. I also did a little bit of color blocking here. I had this diagonally cut panel. This is saffron cardstock from Spellbinders. And it was just sitting on my desk. And I thought to myself, why not add this interest? Why not create this color block element for this card? Because it instantly draws your eye in, it catches your attention, and it looks really cool and unexpected. So I love that. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down right now before I forget, because I really like the way this looks. I just need to find my glue. Next, we have another card featuring the seagull from the small die of the month. And this time I brought in an anchor from the stitching die of the month. So we have this little anchor die that can be used, to add to your little scene. This one was cut from the mirror silver cardstock, and I just did a simple grid here. I have a 2x3. The chiffon is the color of cardstock I used for the background, and I also added some seagulls. I'm sure you've already noticed these. The seagulls are not a part of the club kit from Spellbinders, and they come from a different collection from, let's see, Fair Winds collection by Dawn Walslagel. This is from, I believe, June of last year. By the way, I recently organized my past collections from Spellbinders, and I now try to store them in the craft stack. So I added a little label, I added a color-coded circle to help me identify which months that belongs to. And I even use the silicone band to help hold the craft stacks closed. This is especially helpful, if you have a bunch of stuff in your craft stacks and you have a hard time closing it. This one is not overflowing. The products fit nicely inside, but I still like to add the rubber band or the silicone band to this storage. Okay, so these cards, that's 6 cards, by the way, these were all created using the small die and a few other die sets. Next, let's go ahead and look at the large die card. So this is the large die of the month. And this one is, again, cool one because you have a lighthouse, you have some hills, you have a little island, you have some houses like a coastal village, you have a wave, you have a cloud, you have a ray of light, and you even have some cool stones to die cut. So lots of pieces in this die set because, again, well, that's a large die set, and large die sets usually have a ton of elements. So I was able to create this scene, and this one says, "Thanks for lighting the way." I have the cloudy cardstock used for the background. I need to consult my little cheat sheet to make sure I'm naming the colors of cardstock correctly. Not cloudy, so this is the Cascade cardstock used for the background. I also used a little bit of Celestial for some of the waves and a little bit of Cosmic Sky. The ground or the hill that the lighthouse is sitting on was cut from Anchor. The lighthouse itself was cut from poppy and brushed black, as well as saffron for all of the yellow elements. And I also used fog for the stones and white for the white on the waves. So this is a fun die set. I always love to create cards with lighthouses. And I was happy to play with this particular die set. You'll see I have this lighthouse done in a different color combination in a second. Next, I have another card. This one is created using the other dies from the large die of the month, and this one features a coastal village. So I have a light blue cardstock used for the background here. So this is windy. I then used a combination of different greens and yellows and teals to create the scene. I used the rainforest for the hills. I then used saffron and that same pattern paper. You guys remember the green and white striped pattern paper to die cut 2 other houses. I used Anchor for the house roof details. And then this one, let's see, this is the waterfall cardstock used for the wave. So it's a simple card, and the sentiment here says, "Hello, thinking of you from the edge of the world." Love it. Here is another card featuring the lighthouse, and this one uses a mix of different clubs from this month. So first of all, we have the lighthouse done in a different color combination. This one was done using red. This one is done using dark teal. This particular color is the blue spruce. And the reason I used the blue spruce is because I wanted the color of the lighthouse to match the color of the waves. The waves are created using the stencil of the month for this month. I believe you have 4 or 5 stencils in this month kit, and they allow you to create different full or partial backgrounds. So this is one of the partial backgrounds with the waves. This is another partial backgrounds with the bubbles. And then there is one more stencil that you can use to create a full background. I did not use that one, and I don't have a card to show you featuring that design. But I really very much like this one with the waves. Here, I trimmed this panel down slightly using the Perfect Touch rectangle dies. And I full mounted this onto a background created using the glimmer of the month. So it's that beautiful net background. This one was foiled using the opal white foil on the fawn cardstock by Spellbinders. And I also added a couple of seagulls, again from that Fair Winds collection by Dawn Walslegel. So this is the cards using the large die. Oh, I do have one more. So this one is actually featuring the bonus item for June 2025. So if you are a member of the Deluxe Caboodle Value Club, that's when you get all 10 clubs, you receive a bonus, a free bonus in your shipment. And the bonus is usually something different. You know, sometimes it's a little stencil, sometimes it's a die set. A few times I think we had like blending brushes or something like that. And this month we have this cute little sailboat. So the sailboat is the bonus item. I cut mine from white cardstock, poppy, and pomegranate to create the red detail. I also added this cool wave from the large die of the month. I stamped "Ahoy, you are the calm in my stormy seas" using the clear stamp of the month. I cut this rectangle using the Perfect Touch rectangle dies, not a part of the club. And then the background is embossed using the 3D embossing folder. On this card, as well as on many other cards, you can see that I have some white enamel dots added. These are by Spellbinders, and these are the dimensional enamel dots. I use them quite a lot on my cards this time just because I love them so much. Okay, so this features the majority of my cards. And then the other, I have 4 more cards to show you. And those, they all feature a cool seagull from the stitching die of the month. So we have 2 seagulls in June Club. So we have a little seagull in the small die of the month. It's this one. And then we have a larger seagull. It's this one in the stitching die of the month. And that seagull, it has so much potential. You can do so many different things with that particular seagull. I don't know what is it about the seagulls. Maybe it's just me, but when I saw this seagull, my mind went spinning and I kept thinking and coming up with different ideas of how I can use that seagull to create fun and quirky cards. So let me show you, because I'm really, I'm really glad with how these cards turned out. So this is card number 1, super duper simple. So we have a light blue background, windy cardstock. We have a partial circle here. And this is that's the sun. That's a giant sun on my card, cut using saffron cardstock. And then we have our seagull. And the seagull, I made this seagull into a postal seagull. So if you remember, April Club Kids, the small die of the month, we had the snail mail theme, and we had the snail mailman. And he had this mail bag, and I thought it would be brilliant to use with my seagull. So I have a postal seagull. He is flying, delivering letters, delivering, I don't know, cheer or something. And he has, fun little mail in the mail bag. So the seagull here is holding a die cut "Ahoy." And I just have a "just saying hello" sentiment stamped at the bottom and a few enamel dots sprinkled on the background just to fill it in a little bit. So it's a simple card, but it's very impactful because we have a nice color, color play. The blue and yellow always work well together. You can see I've used that on many of my cards, like this one, for example. So I have the blue and yellow, I have a pop of red, a little bit of darker blue, and then I have different shades of white and gray to finish this card. So this is probably, well, not going to say my favorite because they're all favorites of mine. Okay, next for this card, I used the seagull again with the mailbag. I added a different hat. So here we have the hat that goes with the seagull, but on this card, I used the hat that goes with the walrus because they're interchangeable and you can totally use the different hats. You can probably also use this hat from the seagull on the walrus. I didn't do that, but that would be fun to try. Now, my seagull is now standing on a little cliff, and this one comes not from the club. This is from that Fair Winds collection by Don Walslago. I tell you guys, it's a fabulous collection to pair together, to pair with these clubs. So let me show you real quick. Here's that die set. So it's this die set. It's the S4 1343, and we have this die to cut the hill, and then this die to cut the hill detail. It's just really cool. There's a longer die to cut a hill and a hill detail. So you can use that one as well for your seagull. And you also have some waves here that are splashing on those hills. And there's even a lighthouse, a different style lighthouse, also a very cool lighthouse. So you can pair that with your club, with your June club product. And there's that, the two seagull dies, the little seagull dies in this set. I also have a little fish. So the seagull is holding a fish. He just caught the fish. And the fish, if you look closely, you will recognize the fish from the clubs as well, because this is from the March clubs. I think this is the March Small Dive the month. It had the Father's Day theme. So there's the little silhouette of a man who is fishing, and that's where that fish comes from. Love that. So you guys can see, you can go back to your clubs, you can go back to your other products from Spellbinders and pair them to create unique little combinations. Okay, next I have a seagull that's really into fishing. I used more elements from that March Small Dive of the month. This time I have a fishing rod, I have a bucket, and I have a lot more fish here. And the sentiment here says, seize the day. I did use a slightly different color cardstock for the background just because I wanted to play with, play with something else and have a different color combination. And this is the Malibu cardstock. I also have him wearing a slightly different shirt. Again, this one's cut using that pattern paper. I didn't add the stripes because the pattern paper already has the stripes. And then I just added the little black enamel dots onto the card. I wanted to go back to this card real quick, to the Ahoy one, and I forgot to mention the boots. The boots come from a die set from the Out and About collection. I feel like it was one with a girl and an umbrella. Unfortunately, that die set is discontinued, but there are other die sets on the Spellbinders website that has similar looking boots. So if you want to add boots to your seagull, search your stash, see if you have a die set with the boots. And then the final card for this video and for the June clubs is this one. So I made the seagull into the sea captain. I used the pipe from, I'm trying to remember, from the Small Dive of the month. So Walrus was smoking this pipe. Here we have it. And the pipe originally faces left, but I flipped my die cut to the other side. I sent it through my die cutting machine once more to sort of flatten it, because you guys know when you cut a piece out in your die cutting machine, the front side has this nice beveled edge, but the back side edge is sharp and it's really not that nice. So to make it nicer, I sent it through my machine and I flattened it using, just using, I don't remember what I did. I feel like I used an embossing mat. So that helped me create a die cut that is facing a different way. And I trimmed it slightly to fit in my seagull's mouth. And that was it. I also added a little heel. This one was created using the island die from the large die of the month. So it's that little oval, elongated oval piece where the village is located. And then I also have the clouds here, this smaller cloud. This was made using the larger cloud, but I just did a little bit of creative die cutting using that same die to make it smaller so that I could have different, size variety on my card. And the sentiment here says, ahoy, party like a sea captain, happy birthday. And I added black enamel dots to finish this project. And then I have the chiffon cardstock used for the background. So that's a look at the cards that I have for you, created using the June Club kits from Spellbinders. There are two kits that I did not use and did not mention, but I still want to show them to you. So one is the 2D embossing folder of the month. It creates a beautiful background. I do have it embossed here. I didn't use it because I like the 3D embossing folder so much better, and it just made more sense for my cards today. And I also did not show you the wax seal of the month. The wax seal is very, very cool. It says seize the day. It's an oval seal. I pressed my seal in multiple colors of wax beads. I created my own colors by mixing some of the beads. And then I used the gold pen to add the highlighting to the text. So it was a little bit more, legible. And you can see how this looks. I tried adding the seal onto my cards, but I just couldn't find the right spot to add it. So I didn't use it, but I still have the seal. So I might add them to an envelope once I package my cards. I don't know, we'll see. So that's a look at my favorite club kits for June 2025. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have found something that you like, whether it's an individual club or the whole package, Deluxe Caboodle. Thank you for joining me today. The clubs are now available for new members. So if you're not a member of the club subscription of the Spellbinders Club program, you can join now. The Spellbinders Club is very easy to use because you can cancel anytime. There's no skipping. You can't skip, but you can cancel. When you join the club, you do get certain benefits like 10% off of all products except for clearance. So for example, if you join today, that on the 6th of June, you have the 10% off, and new arrivals come out on the 10th. So you have 10% off new arrivals. And as a club member, you also get early access to new arrivals. So again, if you join today or if you are already a club member, you get access to the new arrivals today. And there are some really cool collections launching in June. Okay, that's enough chit chat from me. Love you guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time. Bye.